Okay, I'm Ben. My topic was student feedback in the classroom. And there's actually two types of student feedback. The first one is actually what the teacher gives you. So grades on tests, grades on assignments, things like that. And then there's what the student gives back to the teacher. And that can be anything from like an answer when you get asked a question, or it can be those surveys that you get at the end of the year, like how'd you do in the course? Did you like the teacher? How did they teach? And that's what I'm actually covering today. And this guy at the bottom here, his name is James Fitch. He's a professor of communication studies in Auburn, and he has wrote extensively on student feedback, and he says it is important for instructors, particularly in larger classroom settings, to get feedback from students as to the extent to which the material is understood. He took that after studying his own classes for approximately 3 years. He has pretty large classes. Auburn's a pretty huge university. And he actually has his own system within his classroom feedback, so it was really fascinating to read about that. The problem identified is the amount of feedback that administration teachers are receiving is actually not enough. And when administrative officers actually do get enough feedback, they don't do anything about it. And that's referred to as the feedback loop, which you get feedback, it's submitted, and they don't do anything about it. So then you get the same feedback the next year, and they still don't do anything about it. This happens over and over and over again. So the solutions, I actually come up with 3 of them. Is, for example, like here we have that one survey at the end of the year, right? It's like, oh, strongly disagree with me. To have multiple surveys instead, like 3 during the semester, so you can actually gauge the progress as you go. And I believe that give a more in-depth look at the class itself. The second one is student volunteers, and I use volunteers loosely. What I mean by that is a random sample of students that get pulled out of classes to talk to, like, it was a principal in high school, or maybe the department chair in a certain section in colleges. So actually sit down and talk about how the class is going. So actually give that feedback right to the person that can actually make a difference with it. And the last one I had was a special administrative office. And that's like within the office of itself, like the English department, you actually appoint somebody that is specifically just there to make sure that the changes you proposed are actually implemented. And if you did those things, hopefully things would actually start to move instead of just in that loop. And as Sarah Watson said, she's actually the one that coined the term the loop. Closing the loop is probably the most demanding aspect of seeking student feedback. And she said that after writing many things. She actually works in England, she's English, and she works in this one institute that's focused solely on student feedback. And she's written, I found like 17 articles by her. She's written a ton. And that's about it. Any questions?